Both, I'm Watanabe Shinji, Kudo Daido Jiku Shihan, and also Yuigari Karate Reji. Today's topic is the ninth installment of the Naihanchi analysis series, how to connect to the opposite side. I think you will find this video interesting as well. Let's go then. Oath. After the Ryotetsuki, you perform the same movement you have been doing towards the opposite side. At this point, there are two ways to do this. One is to keep the left arm in the same position and open the palm to make the form of Haishuke. And the other is to lower the left arm once to perform Haishuke actually. The Motobu Choki's Naihanchi uses the former method. This is probably the older way of Naihanchi. My Yuigari Karate is also this style. The latter method is used in Okinawa Shorin-ryu or Shotokan Tekki, etc. I suspect, as usual, that Ito's uncle may have modified it, but I do not know. In any case, it is probably a new method. It doesn't matter which method is adopted. Each has its own merits, or the purpose of adoption is different. I'll explain it in more detail. At first, I'll explain how to do it without lowering the arm. From the Ryotetsuki, the left hand is simply opened to make a Haishuke form, which leads directly to an elbow strike. What is Naihanchi? What kind of kata is Naihanchi? There are many ways to answer this question, but one answer is that the end of one technique or movement is the beginning of the next technique or movement. It's a kata made of such movements. In general combat sports, there is a basic posture, and each time you perform a technique, you return to that basic posture. Such movements are repeated. On the contrary, Naihanchi does not have such movements, does it? Naihanchi does not return to the basic posture, but connects the techniques. Of course, not only Naihanchi, but all karate kata are made of such movements. For example, this is the movement of Pian, right? Then, why are karate kata made up of such movements? It is because, as I've said before, the basic premise of karate is to hold or be able to hold a weapon. When you have a weapon, move like this. If you don't have a weapon, move like that. Learning multiple, completely different moves is inefficient, isn't it? In serious self-defense, the first step is to have the skill to fight with a weapon. And even if you cannot hold a weapon. You can fight using the same physical manipulations as when you hold a weapon. The collection of such techniques is the original karate. For more information, please watch this video. It is summarized in the playlist. And how would you move if you had a weapon? For example, here is a knife. You want to stab your opponent with this knife. How would you move? You would not stab him like this, would you? You would probably move like this. Therefore, there is no hikite in the original karate to bring back to the hand you punch. There is an interesting story about hikite circa 1965. University karate practitioners from mainland Japan visited Okinawa and had exchange kumite matches with members of the Ryukyu University Karate Club. I'm not sure if it was a contact rules with protective gear or a non-contact rules, but in any case, the matches were held according to the rules of the mainland Japan side. At that time, there is a story that during the matches, even if the Okinawan fighter landed an effective blow, it was not recognized as a valid strike because of the lack of hikite. I think this episode proves that there was no concept of hikite in the old or original karate. Conversely, hikite is a movement that was added to karate, which was originally a martial art of the Ryukyu Kingdom in the process of its transformation into a Japanese martial art. We can guess so. There is a word in Japanese martial arts, Budo, called Zanshin. It is written, leave your mind, or leave your body. It means that even after you have completed a single action, you should maintain tension and not neglect the preparation of your body and mind. For example, you cut your opponent with a sword. You should not think, I did it, I won. The attack you gave him may not be fatal, and he may fight back with his last strength. So leave your mind and body there to prepare for that, and don't let your guard down until the very end. Or even if you could really take his life, it would be the same. The stronger the opponent. Oh, I did it! I won! I survived! It is natural to want to be overjoyed that you have done it. However, you are taught not to do that. It is vulgar. The stronger the opponent, the more respect you should have for him, and show it in your attitude, even if he becomes a corpse. This is the Japanese samurai mind and the teaching of Zanshin. It can be inferred that the occurrence of hikite in karate competitions was an expression of that Zanshin. However, for example, WKF Kumite competitions, what should originally have been a Zanshin movement, has become an appealing movement that says, I just scored by Atsuki. On the contrary, there are times when the opponent counterattacks and the decision is reversed, where the appealing is being made. As the Japanese martial artist Budoka, I personally think the behavior or things like that are not very beautiful. Sorry, the topic went sideways. Let's get back to the original topic. Anyway, in the original karate, there is no movement to return to the standard posture after Atsuki. The reason for this is that it is based on the premise of fighting with weapons. The end of one technique or movement is the beginning of the next technique or movement. Earlier, I mentioned that there is no hikite after Atsuki, and the same is true for uke. For example, suppose the opponent tries to stab you with a knife, and you press down that hand. But if you put off your hand, it's no good. He will stab you again from that position. Therefore, once you press down the hand, you must connect it to the attack while keeping it pressed down. Neither the attack nor the defense returns to the basic posture after doing so. Because both parties use movements that are based on this structure, the attack and defense, known as torite, are also possible. Conversely, it is difficult to become a torite in a movement like modern martial arts, in which the hand that is put out to attack is immediately put back to return. Of course, just because it's difficult doesn't mean impossible. I mentioned a little bit about the relationship between kata and torite in this video. My apologies, this video is only in Japanese, and I had not yet reworked the English version. Please use the translate function to watch it. I assure you, this one is also interesting. Sorry, I'm getting off topic again. Anyway, the original movement of karate is to start the next technique or movement from the same position after performing one technique or movement. If we follow this principle, this part of the movement would look like this. So, what does it mean the other way? The arm down and start over. Another answer to the question, what kind of kata is naihanchi? It is a kata that is made almost symmetrically. If you want to stay strong as you age, it is very important to stay healthy. After a certain age, conditioning and health exercises are rather more important than training. Repeated asymmetric exercises such as boxing and kickboxing can cause your body to become distorted. If you are still young and have flexible and strong muscles and tendons, this will not be a problem. But as you get older and lose them, the distortion of your body will manifest itself as neck or lower back pain. On the other hand, naihanchi is a nearly symmetrical kata, so it does not distort the body. At the same time, repeated symmetrical movement make it easier to notice your movement habits and postural distortions. For example, Why can I put more force on my right side, but not on my left side? And then, by repeating the practice of Naihanchi to try to eliminate the difference, you can expect the effect of such as self-chiropractic. Naihanchi is a wonderful kata in which training to become strong and exercise to become healthy coexist at a high level. The way to do Haishu Uke once the arm is done is a way to emphasize this symmetry. At the beginning of this video, I said I suspect that this method of lowering the arm once was modified by Itosu Anko. Itosu is famous for modernizing karate. By modernized, it means that he transformed karate from a fighting technique for life-threatening situations into physical education, or to use a more modern expression, karate as a fitness or health exercise. If it is a fitness or health exercise, bigger movements are better, more symmetrical are better. Or perhaps it was thought that this movement simply does not make sense, that it must be this way. He interpreted this movement as limited to uke and changed it to haito uke. If this is uke, then you cannot defend the opponent's suki by this. It must be done this way. However, I have already told you that this action can be interpreted as Haishu uchi. If this is a uchi, then this alone is a meaningful movement. I take this approach, but I also practice left starting Naihanchi. By practicing left starting Naihanchi as well, I'll get perfect symmetry, not almost symmetry. You should try it too. Well, that's all for this video. If you found it interesting, please like it. Comments are also welcome. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do so as well. The next video will be about rei. When you train kata, you have to bow at the beginning and the end. This is very important, so don't skip it. Do it carefully. By important, I do not mean etiquette, much less mentality. It's important purely as a technical matter. Why is that? Please look forward to also the next video. Os.